Welcome back, dear listener. Tonight you've returned to the gentle corners of the Midnight Library, where insight flows quietly and sleep is always close at hand. As you settle under the covers and let the noise of the day melt away, we invite you to explore a different kind of leadership. One that begins not in the boardroom, but in the breath. Not in titles, but in presence. The science of leadership invites us to look inward, not to become someone else, but to uncover the leader that already lives within us. You don't need to be loud to be powerful, you don't need to be perfect to lead with strength. Instead, you need awareness, authenticity, adaptability, and compassion. In this sleep story, we'll drift through real-world examples, soft reflections, and the 9 leadership capacities drawn from decades of coaching, neuroscience, and behavioural research. These are lessons not just for executives, but for parents, teachers, teammates, and you. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Shadows We Carry. Imagine a senior executive stepping into a team meeting still reeling from a difficult call with the board. His voice sharpens, his comments turn critical. Without meaning to, his inner storm spills into the room, and the mood sinks. We've all seen this. Maybe we've been this person. Leadership, like life, can stir up our oldest defences. These moments arise from what psychologists call shadow behaviours, protective reactions from our past that sneak into our present. That calm drive becomes impatience. That confidence, arrogance, that desire for excellence, control. But what if we could interrupt that cycle? What if we could pause? That's where mindsight begins. The gentle ability to observe our own emotions before they become our actions. Tonight, let your mind gently notice the echoes of your own reactions. You don't need to fix them, just notice. Awareness is the first leadership step, and you're already taking it. Chapter 2. The Conscious Reset. Now, picture our executive again, weeks later. This time, before entering the meeting, he pauses. He notices his tight chest, his clenched jaw. He takes a few deep breaths, and rather than unload his stress, he speaks honestly. That board conversation was tough. I'd love your ideas on how we adapt. This moment of choice, this gentle pause, is called a conscious reset. You can practice it too. When emotions rise, breathe. Name what you feel, release tension, and then ask, what approach best serves everyone involved? This tiny ritual rewires the brain. Over time, it turns reactivity into resilience, and reactivity into wisdom. As you lie here now, you might do the same. Breathe in deeply, and let it go. Again and again. You're not only resting, you're resetting. Chapter 3. Values over vision. Leadership isn't always about grand speeches or ambitious targets. Sometimes it's about meaning. Consider a tech CEO excitedly sharing quarterly wins with her team, but receiving only blank stares. She talks disruption, unicorns, and media buzz, but she's missing one thing, her why. When she begins speaking not about money, but about her diabetic father, and how his experience inspired her mission, the energy shifts. Her team leans in. They see the human behind the headlines. This is authentic leadership, grounded not in performance, but in values. You can discover your own values by reflecting on the leaders you admire. Do you respect those who show vulnerability, who admit mistakes, who stay principled? Let those reflections guide you. They are your compass, and in your sleep tonight, that compass will continue to align quietly within you. Chapter 4. Adaptive Intelligence Leadership. Agility is the ability to flow, to shift your approach without losing your center. Sarah, a startup founder, thrives in collaborative spaces, but when a crisis hits, she shifts. Firm decisions, tight timelines, no room for debate. Laura, a school principal known for empathy, faces budget cuts. With a heavy heart, she moves into a data-driven mode, making hard choices with clarity. Neither of them abandons their essence. They simply adapt. This is fluid leadership. The strength to hold opposites, to be directive and inclusive, analytical and caring. You too carry these opposites. Let yourself be many things. Sleep allows integration. Tonight, you're adapting beautifully, from doing to resting. Chapter 5. Listening as Influence. Tom, a hospital administrator, receives a fiery complaint from a colleague. He could defend, explain, argue. Instead, he asks, "What's most concerning to you?" And then he listens. That's relational leadership, where influence grows not from control but connection. where silence becomes strength. The 80-20th rule tells us to spend 4 times more energy listening than speaking. When leaders do, trust blossoms. When you listen deeply and recognize even to yourself, new paths open. Tonight, as your mind quiets, let it listen. Not to noise, but to what's underneath. That too is leadership. Chapter 6, Safety and Mistakes. Lisa, a finance director, finds a costly error in the budget. She could scold, shame, lecture. Instead, she calmly acknowledges, these things happen. Let's learn and move forward. In that moment, she builds something rare. Psychological safety. Teams thrive when they feel safe to fail, safe to speak, safe to try. And leadership that creates that safety, that's power in its gentlest form. Mistakes don't define us. How we respond does. As you rest tonight, let go of any past errors. They were lessons, and tomorrow is open again. Chapter 7, Freedom Sparks Energy. Now, imagine Uma, a tech team lead. Her developers are burnt out under rigid rules, so she shifts. She gives her team control over schedules, priorities, and even where they work. Slowly, energy returns. Creativity blooms, because autonomy is a fuel, and people perform best when they feel trusted. Positive leadership isn't about stepping back, it's about stepping beside. Tonight you've given yourself autonomy too, choosing rest, choosing quiet, choosing the story. Your nervous system thanks you. Chapter 8. Meaning in the mundane Jordan, a retail manager sees disinterest among his staff. So he begins telling stories, not about sales, but about impact. He shares tales of how their work helped people feel seen, prepared, confident, and suddenly the mundane becomes meaningful. Leaders can reframe work by connecting it to purpose. Even your bedtime can carry purpose. It's not the end of your day, it's the beginning of your renewal, and that purpose, Dwellers, will carry you gently into dreams. Chapter 9, Your Leadership Practice. Leadership is not a personality trait, it's a practice. One breath at a time, one reset at a time, one act of listening, one moment of choice. You build it the way you build muscle, slowly, with repetition and care. You lead every time you choose awareness over reactivity, meaning over performance, connection over control, and so, as you lie here now, with nothing to prove, nothing to perform, know that your leadership is already alive, in your breath, your presence, your rest. Closing the book. You've now wandered through the science of leadership. You've met executives, teachers, startup founders, and store clerks. You've seen leadership not as a title, but as a way of relating to the world. Presence, agility, values, listening, safety, autonomy, meaning. These aren't buzzwords. They are the building blocks of powerful, conscious human leadership, and they live in you, so drift now. Let sleep take you. And remember, every restful night is an act of quiet strength. Thank you for joining us again at the Midnight Library. If this story brought you peace, we'd love to hear where you're listening from. You are not alone here. There are others, just like you, breathing deeply, softening slowly, and rediscovering their quiet power. Good night and sweet dreams.